Today, we are diving into one of the most persistent, frustrating problems in any organization, the never-ending cycle of trying to fix people. We're going to explore a pretty radical idea. What if the problem was never about your people in the first place? All right, let's get into it. Sound familiar? You see a team burning out, so, you bring in a wellness coach. Morale is in the tank, so you launch a big new culture initiative. And for a little while, maybe things feel better. But a few months later, you're right back where you started. It's this exhausting and frankly expensive cycle. So why don't these fixes ever seem to stick? So here's the core idea for today. The stuff that drives us crazy, the burnout, the politics, the constant firefighting, these aren't really failures of individual character or skill. Nope. They are the predictable results of a system, a structure, that just wasn't built for the pressures it's actually facing. Okay, so if the problem is structural, that means we're probably spending a whole lot of time, energy, and money trying to fix all the wrong things. Let's break down what that actually looks like. Look, when a problem shows up, we naturally go to where it's most visible, right? And that's usually in people's behavior or their morale. So what do? We roll out more leadership training, we ask people to be more resilient, we coach individuals. Now, don't get me wrong, these things aren't inherently bad, but they're all downstream fixes. They're aimed at the symptoms, not the actual cause. It's like you have a massive leak in the upstairs plumbing, and your only solution is to keep mopping the floor downstairs. You're working hard, but you're not fixing the leak. And this is a really critical insight. By the time you actually see performance dipping or people checking out, the real problem, the structural issue, has been there for a long, long time. We're reacting to the smoke, but the fire started way earlier and much deeper inside the organization. So to find that fire, we've got to stop mopping the floor. We need to put the mop down and take a journey upstream to find out where the pipes are actually broken. This is such a key mindset shift. Things like burnout, low engagement, high turnover, these aren't just choices that individuals make one day. They are conditions that are produced by the system over time. They're the natural result of countless decisions about priorities, workload, and how pressure gets handled or not handled. And this idea just perfectly captures one of our biggest mistakes. We're constantly asking people to be more resilient, to just tough it out. But true resilience isn't a personality trait we can just demand from people. It's a property of the system itself. It's what you get when you design an organization that can absorb pressure so that your people don't have to bear the entire load. So how in the world do we start thinking about designing a system like that? Well, the source material gives us a fantastic map for this. It's called the Stewardship Cascade. Okay, so this cascade shows us that organizations are kind of like a stack of layers. It all starts at the very top, with the fundamentals of organizational psychology. The non-negotiable truths about how human beings actually work. That informs your strategy, which is your plan to win. That strategy then has to be brought to life for your organizational design, the roles, the teams, the whole structure. And each one of these higher-up tiers sets the stage for everything that happens below it, all the way down to organizational health, which is the stuff you can actually see and feel every single day. And here it is. This is the single most important rule of the whole cascade. It's a one-way street, and it only flows down. Any problems at the top, say a fuzzy strategy or a clunky design, they don't just magically fix themselves. Nope. They flow downhill and they build up, finally showing up as burnout, confusion, and frustration for the people at the bottom who are just trying to get their work done. And that's why we call it stewardship, not management or control. Real leadership in this view isn't about micromanaging every little thing that happens at the bottom. It's about being a good steward of the conditions at the top, creating an environment, a system where good things can happen naturally, without you having to force them. So we've got this map. How do we use it? Well, it turns out to be an incredible diagnostic tool, especially when the pressure's on. This is such a powerful way to think about it. We usually blame stress for causing all our problems. But what if stress isn't the cause at all? What if it's just a diagnostic? Pressure doesn't create the bottlenecks, the role confusion, or the communication breakdowns. It just shines a giant spotlight on the ones that were already there, hiding just beneath the surface. And this is where it gets really practical. When you have a breakdown at one of those high levels, it leaves a very specific fingerprint at the lower levels. See an incoherent strategy up top? Down below, you're going to see teams with conflicting priorities doing the same work over and over. Got a weak design? Well, hello, bottlenecks, burnout, and decisions that take forever. You see, these aren't just random,
people problems. They are clear symptoms of very specific, identifiable failures way up the chain.
So when you start to really internalize this model, it leads you to a pretty massive shift in how you even think about solving problems in your organization.
On the left, you've got the way we usually see things. We treat complex ideas like they're just toolkits. We reduce leadership to a checklist of competencies, and we optimize for quick action. But on the right, that's the deeper view. It's about seeing patterns, not just problems. It understands that design isn't just about boxes and lines on a chart, it's about how stress and trust flow through a human system. And it optimizes for understanding first, then action. That shift, right there, is the whole game. And making that shift means we have to let go of our favorite go-to question. Whenever something goes wrong, our first instinct is always, okay, who's the problem? Who needs to change? But that question just keeps us trapped at the bottom of the cascade, forever mopping that same wet floor.
Instead, we can ask a much, much more powerful question. Where did stewardship break? Where in that upstream cascade did we fail? Was it a flaw in our strategy? A weakness in our design? Did we build a system that goes against the very grain of how people work? This question doesn't hunt for a person to blame. It searches for a condition to fix. And that single change in perspective, well, that just might be the key to finally breaking the cycle for good.